This recipe for chicken sweet and sour is a recipe we make with our students in the cookery school, and they always enjoy it. And there's a real kind of balance of lovely, beautiful, soft chicken, you know, sweet and sour, exactly what you want, and lots of lovely vegetables. So we're going to start off. It's really, really simple. We're going to cook everything in the skillet pan, and from start to finish it takes about 20-25 minutes. So I already have one done. So a good drizzle of some rapeseed oil. Peppers, red, green and yellow peppers, just cut nice big kind of chunks. So that's a small red, small green and a small yellow red pepper or peppers in that. One small onion, which is finely diced. So that's there. And then we're going to put in some ginger and some garlic. So I'm going to crush some garlic. And I'm going to put this in on top. Now you can use 1 or 2 cloves, it doesn't matter. Depends on the size of them. It's a really good recipe this because it keeps really well in the fridge. And they keep for 4 to 5 days, but I'll go through all of that as we go along. So just to recap, we have our peppers in there. Now what I'm going to do is just into the hot pan. We're just going to start the cooking process for this. So I'm keeping it up nice and high, no butter in this recipe. And what we're going to do is grate some ginger. So a really good tip when you're using ginger at home, everyone, is get a piece of ginger, peel it with a knife, or you can use a spoon if you want to, wrap it in cling film and keep it in the freezer. And then as you use it, you remove it from the freezer, grate it frozen, remove the cling film, and it'll work perfectly for you. So I'm just going to grate this just in and top of those lovely vegetables. And I'm a big fan of ginger. It's so delicious. It's so good for you, so healthy. In the restaurant we also make a lovely, it's a ginger, so ginger with the skin on. We wash it, we chop it, some lemongrass, pour some boiling water over it, a little bit of fresh mint and some honey, and it's a fantastic, fresh, refreshing tea. Even if you have a sore throat or you're feeling full after dinner, it's a really lovely recipe. So ginger has many beautiful properties, but in cooking it's so delicious, and in the sweet and sour. So this is a variation that I've been doing for many, many years, and I've tweaked it ever so often, just with a little bit of chili in this in a moment. So a little bit more oil in there. Okay, we're not looking to colour it, that's not what we want to, we're cooking everything together. One pot dish, I love those kind of things. Let's talk about what I'm going to put in next. Tomato puree, I'll put a tablespoon of that. These beautiful tomatoes, the San Marzano tomatoes. Okay, so these are the chopped tomatoes that I'm using, or you can buy the Simply Better whole ones and you can kind of just chop them up if you want to. These are 2 really lovely products made from an Irish company called Full On Foods. So this is a soy and ginger, so we're getting a double hit of ginger, so it's a really, really nice product this. And then we have the sweet chili sauce, great in stir fries. So they're all handmade, they're made from an Irish company, and I think they're a really good product. For a little bit of sweetness, we're going to put in some brown sugar, and then for acidity, some balsamic vinegar. You can use cider vinegar, but the balsamic vinegar will give you a nice, rich, deep colour. You'll see in a moment. Okay, so we're going to put in the tomato puree. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use my big spoon here. And we're going to put in our balsamic vinegar first of all. So I'm going to put in 2 of these. And you can always adjust it. It's all to your own taste buds. For example, if you put too much vinegar, then you put more sugar. And if it's too sweet, then you add more vinegar. So really, that's really important. We're going to put in 1 spoonful of the brown sugar. And then we're just going to stir this all together. Now, so you just bring this to a boil. We're going to put in the can of tomatoes. Couldn't be easier. So these are the chopped San Marzano tomatoes. I'm just going to scrape that out here. We don't waste anything. And then we're going to put in the soya and ginger. So I'm going to put in, give it a really good shake. We're going to use 2 spoonfuls of each of these. Okay, so that's the soya and ginger, 1, 2. That's going to give lovely richness, darkness to it. And then the sweet chili sauce. So if you give it a little shake, because it kind of separates, and that's always a good sign. So we're going to put in 2 spoonfuls of this. So this is a nice kind of like sweet, sour, a little bit of chili, not too much. And I think it's a really nice combination. So we'll just stir all this through here. And then we're going to put in some stock. I'm using some chicken stock. roughly about 1/4 of a pint of chicken stock. Right, so it doesn't take long because you have the peppers cut not too small and not too big, and there's a nice bit of a texture there, so you can just see that just there. It's just going to come to the boil. So we're going to actually poach our chicken in this, and this is quite interesting because it's what we do for our in the class. So we get the students to make this, then we cut up some chicken. So I'm using the corn-fed chicken, and I've cut it into small little slices, so there's no skin on it, there's no bones obviously on it. If you had leftover roast chicken, you make the sauce, you keep it, you cook it out, taste it with season it with salt and pepper and taste it, and then put in your cooked chicken at the very end. But I'm actually going to poach the raw chicken in this. So I have 2 chicken breasts, and I'm just going to just mix this all through here, and it's going to come to the boil, and we're going to let that just simmer. And this is where I said to you it'll take about 20 minutes thereabouts. If you think it's too thick, you can add more stock, and if you add too much stock, what I sometimes get the students to do is to mix up a little bit of corn flour and thicken it. You don't want it gloopy. So this is quite interesting. You no need to pan fry the chicken. I never do that. I'm poaching the raw chicken in the sauce. It keeps it really moist, really succulent, and it's keeping all the flavour in there. Whereas some sweet and sours have the chicken dipped in a little batter or in corn flour, crispy fried. This is different. This is a very, very simple, quick, one pan recipe. So if you can cut your chicken, if you can, roughly same size pieces. So that's just the breast of chicken in there. I'm going to show you now. I have one already here. So what I like to do at the very end is season it with salt and pepper. I'm going to do that now, and we're going to finish it with some pineapple. So bring this to the boil, let this simmer. And then this is one here that we've already cooked. So the chicken is cooked. So this is on about 20 minutes. It's nice and thick, and it's not gloopy. That's really important. So we're going to put in some salt. We're going to put in a little bit of pepper. We're going to put in our pineapple, and I love fresh pineapple. It's fantastic, you know, for acidity, for digestion. So what I've done is this is about 1/4 of a pineapple. Remove the skin, dice it. You can use a can of pineapple. I think this is nicer. It's more fresh, to be honest with you. And I'm just going to put in half of this because I want to leave the other half. So you just stir this through here. The pineapple is lovely in this, so it is. You know, there's lots and lots of recipes for sweet and sour. This is one we do. I know our students like it. And the most important thing when you're making this at home is that you taste it. So remember, if it's too sharp, you've added too much vinegar, you add more sugar. If it's too sweet, add more vinegar. You can put lime juice into it. I don't, but you certainly can. We're going to finish it now with some chopped basil, taste it, and serve it up with some rice. It's so easy, guys. That sauce that we have here will keep in the fridge for 5 or 6 days, no problem at all, with the chicken. So remember, if you're using some leftover cooked chicken, you make up the sauce. When you're happy with the sauce, then you just literally shred the chicken in and warm it through. Actually, with turkey it works really well too. So just a little bit of fresh basil. Stir this through here. You could use coriander, but the basil I think works really, really well in this. And then taste it. So I have it seasoned. I just want to show you the consistency. So it's not too gloopy, just the sauce. So you can see that there. It's not too runny. We'll look at this one here, Mella. So that's coming just before I taste it. It's coming to the boil, and I'm going to turn this down here. So the chicken is still raw on this, and I've obviously a separate spatula for that. So with the lid on, everyone, you're kind of poaching the chicken, and that's really important. We never brown off the chicken. Taste it. Most important thing when you make this recipe. Do you know what I love? It's fresh, nice kick of chili, but it's not too sweet. If it's too sweet, I find it too rich. A little bit of rice. I'm going to switch that off. So we just cooked a little bit of rice, just a little bit of long grain rice there. You can serve with noodles. And what I'm going to do now is just very, very simple. Get a little bit of oil, and we're going to just serve up the rice. So just get another wee spoon here, clean spoon. You can just spoon on the rice, but I just want to show you a little tip. So if we just kind of fluff up our rice a little bit. So you can use some basmati, you can use some jasmine, whatever kind of rice. I just use some long grain. A little bit of salt, just in with the water. So kind of push that down there, and then hopefully, yeah, it should come out perfect. Then with a large spoon, we're going to bring over the plate, obviously serving on a hot plate. And then we're going to literally, you can see the chicken, you can see the peppers, you can see that beautiful fresh basil. You could put some cashew nuts into this, but I just think keep it simple. So in both these recipes that you're looking at here, I've used 2 chicken breasts. So you should get between 3, maybe 4 would be a stretch for proportion. But how nice does that look? We'll get another little bit of pineapple here. A nice generous portion. And just literally spoon that up there. So that's a really, really simple and quick recipe. That's my sweet and sour chicken with that lovely pineapple, a little bit of steamed rice. Very simple. It's a great one that will please all the family. I use some raw chicken, poached it in it. If you have leftover chicken, it's a great thing. And this recipe here, the sweet and sour, will keep for 5 or 6 days in your fridge. So enjoy this. I'm serving it with rice. You can serve with potatoes, some rice noodles, some egg noodles, or even some chips. So enjoy this recipe. Try this. I think you'll love it. Okay, happy cooking.